Hey guys, Dave from Wolfhard Hobbying here, and today we're going to be building a terrain piece. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 lately and building settlements and stuff like that, so it's kind of inspired me to build some buildings for my game board. So it's going to be a post-apocalyptic type of shelter or building or whatever you want to call it. And it's going to be a fairly simple build, but it's going to take some time. So to get us started, some of the materials you're going to need are regular sized popsicle sticks. You can use the bigger style ones a little later on, but for a lot of the support we're going to be making out of just the regular popsicle sticks. You're going to need some PVA glue or wood glue or anything like that. Now you're going to need some squared wood, if you can find small wood. This is just a bamboo skewer that I picked up at the dollar store. I think it was $1.25 Canadian for a package of, I think, 30 to 40 of these. So you're going to need about 6 or 7 of these, or whatever you happen to use. You're going to need something to kind of give you a wired fence look. This is just a something you put in your gutters and your drains to block the leaves and twigs getting in. Again, picked it up at the dollar store for about $3 for a huge roll. So it's fairly cheap. You're going to need a hot glue gun. And the next one is going to be kind of awkward. I have a very young son, so I have baby wipes, and what we're going to be using this for is tarping, and I'll show you how to do that a little later on. You want to make sure that the wipe is dried out. You don't want it moist when you're doing when we're using this later on. So you're only going to need about one sheet or one wipe of this. Not even a full. We're not even using the full one. The next thing is you're going to need corrugated cardboard or plasticard. I got this from a picture or a painting. It was part of some packing material that got shipped to me, so I kept it. I'm not sure if you can actually buy this by the roll, but you're not going to need a lot of it, so you can use regular corrugated cardboard or, again, plasticard, but keep everything. If you think you can use it for terrain, I always say keep it and see what you can use it for. Next, you're gonna just need some card stock. I'm using a cereal box here. You can use a box from a Malifaux or your 40K models or whatever models you happen to use. So it's going to be a fairly quick, easy, simple terrain build. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up my desk area and get all my stuff organized, and we'll get started. So our first step is we're going to make these little shipping pallets. It's very simple to make these. As you can see, it's just some popsicle sticks and the bamboo skewers. And this is going to be the floor of our house or structure. You'll want to make you can make a couple of these, and you can really kind of block out your building like I'm showing you there. And if not, then if you don't use them all, then you can use them for line of sight blocking terrain, just some junk terrain on your board if you want as well. So how I do this is you're going to need your popsicle sticks and the bamboo skewers. The popsicle sticks obviously are going to be the big boards there, and then your bamboo skewers are going to be the supports underneath. If you've ever worked in retail or anything like that, a lot of people know what a shipping pallet looks like. For my measurement, I kind of just placed one of my Malifaux miniatures on some popsicle sticks, and then kind of just measured it out in my head. So I've got my 3 bamboo skewers, cut out already, as well as my popsicle sticks. I just use simple cutters for this wire cutter, and this is very, very simple to build. It's really great for just scattered terrain as well, these pallets. So just gonna put a glob of glue down. I'm not too worried about it sticking out or anything like this, as I'm not too worried with my terrain pieces. If it looks kind of messy, then whatever. It's just there to add some decoration to my board. So you'll just want to give it a couple seconds for it to dry or cool down. And then what you could do is you could put all your pallet boards down in a row, but I don't suggest doing that, as it could be a little hard to glue in the other skewer on the other end. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to be lining up the other side and kind of framing it out. This also gives you a lot of kind of a structural hold as well if you frame it out for when you're putting in the other 2 boards. So just giving that a minute to cool down there, and then you're going to want to take another popsicle stick, and we're just going to put some glue on the ends, just like that, and then we're just going to stick it on the bottom part of the pallet, just like so. Give it a little push, make sure everything's kind of where you want it. Again, with this being post-apocalyptic, you don't have to make sure everything's perfect, level, or anything like that. You can just you can put them haphazardly like I have here, as shipping pallets usually aren't perfectly square cut either. They're usually made out of cheaper wood. So then what we're going to do is, when you're ready to build the foundation of your structure, you're just going to glue the pallets together, and then that will give us the basic shape of the structure. So I'm only going to build maybe about 2 more of these pallets, and it's going to be a very small building. So I'm going to build 2 more, I'm going to glue them together, and then we'll get started. So here we go. I've got my 4 pallets. They're all glued together. It's kind of awkward to glue them sometimes. So what I've done is I've cut a popsicle stick in half and just added these little pieces of support just to hold all the pieces together. As it's not going to be used, it's more used for just line of sight blocking, not really worried about the functionality of it. So it's just to hold the pallets together. So again, we're going to just use a model Malifaux or whatever you happen to be using, and we're going to take our bamboo skewer and we're going to just roughly measure out. And as you can see, I've already pre-cut my posts here, and these are going to be the posts for the walls. So I'm going to put them kind of scattered around. I'm going to leave a big opening for a doorway or just a way to get into the building. And we're going to have some extra supports at the back to just give us our structure. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It's post-apocalyptic or just kind of haphazardly slapped together. So not too worried about whether it's going to look like it was made by a professional. So I believe I have to cut out about 12 to 14 of these. So get ready to be cutting a lot of the skewers and a lot of popsicle sticks as well, so that we could get our building up. So I've gone ahead and I've glued them all. As you can see, they're kind of lopsided, falling over, everything like that. So again, doesn't need to look pretty. It just needs to look the way we want it to. So the next step is we're going to be bringing in our fencing material. and we're going to glue this. I'm pretty much going to glue it around almost the entire building. I'm going to leave that front wall where my doorway is open away without the meshing, but we're just going to it's just to give it that look like they're trying to make their home secure. Again, post-apocalyptic, you're just grabbing a whole bunch of different materials and throwing it on. After the meshing is on, we are then going to slap on some popsicle sticks just to hold our material in place a little better, as well as to give them the look of like they're just putting whatever they can find on this building. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get all that done, and we're going to see the end result. So as you can see here, I've kind of got my chicken coop, and you want to make sure that you damage up the popsicle sticks, especially if you're doing it a post-apocalyptic. You want it to make it look like there's broken boards. Anything they found, they just kind of nailed to their structure or whatever. If you're kind of just doing haphazard, you may not want broken boards. You may want just weird cuts or breaks in them. I left a window here, but as you can see, it's starting to really come together. And for our next part is going to be fairly simple. I've pre-cut some of my cardboard. We're going to use this to kind of look like plywood boards, or depending on how you want to paint them up, they could be signs or whatever. So I'm just going to look through some of my pieces. I've cut some in weird shapes because you just never know, but a lot of them are cut pretty square. You could damage them up too, but I didn't really feel like doing it. I felt like it might take away, but I'll show you a quick way of making them look broken or damaged. It's fairly simple. So with this, I'm just going to put some hot glue, and I'm just going to pretty much be slapping this on wherever I feel like putting it. Once again, going back to what I've been saying, you want it to make this look slapped together like there was no real thought process. They're just trying to block up holes. Now it does seem like kind of a waste of material or a waste of time to put that meshing on, then the popsicle sticks, and then cover it up with cardboard. But it gives you a more realistic look if you put that in. Then I find planning it out and trying to make it look natural later on. So here I'm just slapping on a lot of glue because again, just slapping it onto the terrain piece. I'm not really sure where it's going to stick, so putting glue pretty much everywhere will help give me the most contact. Again, I'm not planning on using the inside as a functional piece of terrain. You can put models into it, obviously, but I don't care how the inside looks. I'm probably not even going to paint the inside of it, just the outside. So I've got my big piece here, and just squeezing out my glue and slapping it right onto the back. You want to make it look like they are trying to cover as many holes as possible. If you're making this into a sign, you may want to weather it a little bit, or whatever you want to do with it. And again, you'll want to use like random pieces too. You don't want everything looking like it's brand new, like they bought it at a hardware store yesterday type look. So if you want to make this look like maybe there is some kind of currency or whatever that they can buy good materials, then you would want to make sure that your building is kind of a little bit more square put together, but as this is just going to be thrown onto the board somewhere, I just want it to look like somebody out in the boonies or the wastelands found some of this material, picked it up, dragged it back, and just kind of slapped it onto the building. So again here, just going around, kind of just playing. Whenever you're making terrain, it's always good to have a concept down, but being able to stray away from that concept. So here, I didn't want it to look too much like real walls. So instead of just cutting this into a weird shape, the simple solution to make it look broken is just rip it. Rip it and tear it at different weird angles, and it'll give you this broken plywood look. If that's what you're painting it as. You could also rip it and it could just be damaged sign or whatever. And we're just going to place it on the wall like that. So as you can see, it's already coming together. You could leave it like that if you wanted to. I'm going to take it one step further. I'm just going to add some more pieces to the terrain piece. And we're going to add the corrugated cardboard. Now this stuff you want to cut with scissors because if you tear it, you could really dent in the raised edges. If that's kind of the look you want to go for, then by all means do it that way. But I want more of a clean cut look to the sheet metal. So I'm just going to use the scissors. Now again, with a terrain piece like this, you're just pretty much cutting and slapping on stuff. So this would make a great terrain piece for orcs for 40k, maybe even fantasy, depending on what you like. But there's no real blueprint or outline of how I'm doing this. I'm kind of just slapping this onto the terrain piece haphazardly, with some reference material, but I'm not trying to recreate something I saw in the game. I'm just trying to block these little holes, make it look like this person is just trying to build a shelter slowly out of scavenged materials. So again, a lot of glue, as I don't really know where all my contact points are going to be, and I really don't care about the inside if some glue's showing. So I'm just going to hold that on there and let the glue dry for a minute or so, or cool down. So as you can see, where I was kind of pushing in, it kind of dented in that raised edge, but it kind of adds a little bit of more character to it, and a feeling of realism, because the metal you're going to find in a wasteland is not going to be perfect either. So looks great now. Just going to be adding on a roof next. I've pre-cut the corrugated cardboard about the same size of the shelter. Now you could glue it on just like that if you wanted to, but again, because I don't want it to look like they bought this sheet metal straight from a hardware store, I'm going to cut it up into different lengths, and because it's not going straight on, I'm going to be gluing in this middle support beam just to give my roof some added structure. So I put a lot of glue on there, as I'm going to kind of need it to get in between the crevices of the pallets or the popsicle sticks there. So like I said, I don't want a perfectly shaped roof. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now, finding out where I want to cut it as I'm doing this off camera, sorry. So I'm just cutting it into some long strips, not really worrying about width or anything like that. It's all random, and I'm kind of cutting them on angles too. So just going to slap that down quickly, kind of doing a dry fit, and just seeing where I want to go with this. So I'm going to bring it out, the camera out a bit, just so you can get a better view of the entire roof section. So I'm just cutting the other pieces here off camera, sorry, and again, kind of just something like that. That's just the rough idea that I'm going to go for, and just get an idea of where my contact points are going to be. So with this, you want to really look, you don't want to slap a whole bunch of glue everywhere, as you are going to be wasting glue. So I'm just kind of doing the ends, and then I'm going to put a fairly liberal amount on that middle post, and just kind of push everything down and give it a minute to cool down and let the glue grab hold. So as you can see, the back part kind of lifted up, and the front part too, just because some of those posts that I put for the walls are higher than the middle section, so just gluing those contact points as well. So still fairly warm, as I am using a high temperature hot glue gun. If you're using a low temperature one, it would cool down a lot faster, so you want to be mindful of that. So here I'm going to just put some glue on the wall supports, and as well on a lot of the back part, as it is going to be overlapping onto that first piece of cardboard we laid down. So just give it a gentle tap, and I kind of move the other part, but give it a couple minutes to cool down. Now, I don't really like the triangle look that I was going for, so I'm going to give it kind of like an awning type of look. So just going to be putting a large amount of glue about halfway down the cardboard, and then just kind of in an S pattern, go back and forth. And just slap it on like that, and kind of just give it a light push, but I'm gonna let pretty much it fall where it falls. Gonna let kind of gravity take it where it needs to go. So you could leave it like that, but I'm now going to show you what the baby wipes are for. So we're going to kind of use it as tarping, as I stated before, and to do that we're going to kind of just cut about how much we want from the baby wipe. These are very strong, so you will want to use scissors to cut most of it, but then what we're going to do is we're going to then come in and tear it. So I've cut a small section of the baby wipe off, so we just need enough to cover that corner there and the corner and the side over here. So I'm going to show you, it's very, very, very durable, so it's not easy to rip. So I'm going to come in with my scissors. I'm going to cut it about a third of the way in, roughly. And even then, it's still very, very durable. But just ripping it to give us that damaged or weathered look. So just kind of dry fitting, making sure that it'll cover the area that I want it to. Then we're going to get started. So I've got a small bucket or container filled with watered down PVA glue. Now that may seem like a lot to do to use, but I have a lid for it so it doesn't dry out as fast. So what you're going to do is you're going to soak the baby wipe in this mixture of watered down PVA glue, and then you're going to want to squeeze quite quite a bit of it out. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to stick it to the terrain piece and use it like tarping. So it's going to be kind of almost like a paper mache where we can style it, mold it to the piece, and when it dries, it'll dry very solid, and then we can paint over top. So just going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you'll want to make sure that you have a cloth underneath or something underneath while this dries, because the baby wipes will drip, and you don't want to get that all over wherever you happen to be making your terrain pieces. So as you can see here, it's already dripping. This one's I didn't wring it out as much as the other one, but you'll just want to stick it down into place just like that, and then you'll want to leave it for, I left mine for 24 hours I think before I primed it, but that's it, guys. That's building a post-apocalyptic or fallout shelter. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Share this with your friends if this is something they'd be interested in. Again, this can be used for any game system. I'm going to probably be using it for Malifaux. You can use it for 40k, things like that. Like I said, it makes great orc terrain too, if you slap some red on there and some orc symbols and whatnot. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. I will leave a link to my Facebook page in the video description below, so if you want to shoot me a message there. There will also be a link to my Patreon account if you want to show some support that way. That would be awesome. Thanks, guys, for watching the video, and have yourselves a great day.